On May 27, 2015, the world of sport was rocked by a midnight raid that saw dozens of FIFA officials escorted from their offices in Zurich, their laptops seized, and a cache of cash, gold bars, and a mysterious, black envelope discovered hidden behind a wall. That single cinematic moment exposed a criminal enterprise that had been thriving at the heart of global football for decades, and it marked the beginning of the most high-profile sports corruption saga ever witnessed. For more than a generation, FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, had presented itself as the benevolent steward of the beautiful game, responsible for the World Cup, the Continental Championships, and the very rules that govern every match from the streets of Rio to the pitches of Reykjavik. Beneath the polished veneer, however, lay an intricate web of bribery, kickbacks, and secret deals that linked powerful executives to multinational corporations, political leaders, and organized crime syndicates. The origins of this darkness can be traced back to the 1990s, when a new wave of commercialization transformed football into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Television rights, sponsorships, and the promise of hosting the World Cup turned into irresistible prizes, and a handful of senior officials discovered that they could sell those prizes for personal profit. Key figures emerged as the architects of the scheme. Sepp Blatter, elected president in 1998, presided over an organization that grew from a modest federation into a global behemoth, amassing revenues exceeding $5 billion by 2015. Under his watch, a network of regional confederations, UEFA, CONMEBOL, CAF, and others, became conduits for illicit payments. João Havelange, the long-standing president before Blatter, had already set a precedent by funneling money through the Copa America deals of the 1980s, but it was his successor, the Brazilian lawyer and former prosecutor Jeffrey C.R. Miller, who later testified that the culture of pay-to-play was not an anomaly but an institutional norm. The scandal erupted when the U.S. Department of Justice, working in concert with Swiss authorities, announced that they had uncovered a massive racketeering conspiracy spanning at least a decade. Prosecutors alleged that senior FIFA officials had accepted more than $150 million in bribes and illicit payments in exchange for awarding lucrative marketing contracts, World Cup hosting rights, and voting privileges. Among the most damning evidence were recorded conversations between Caribbean officials and CONCACAF President Jeffrey R. Hernandez, in which they discussed the black envelope, later revealed to contain $1 million in cash, meant to sway votes for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. In addition, a trove of emails between former UEFA chief executive Gerardo Mendoza and a German marketing firm disclosed a pattern of inflated invoices and dummy companies used to siphon money to private accounts. The legal battle that followed was as complex as it was unprecedented. In November 2015, 12 high-ranking officials were indicted in the United States, facing charges of racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering. The case hinged on a combination of wiretap evidence, financial records, and testimonies from cooperating insiders, most notably former FIFA executive Michael M.G. Lopez, who turned state's witness after being offered a reduced sentence. The trial, held at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, stretched over 3 months and featured dramatic testimonies that painted a picture of a secretive cabal that met in opulent villas, exchanged briefcases full of cash, and used coded language to conceal their activities. Verdicts were delivered in December 2015. 8 of the 12 defendants, among them former UEFA President Mitchell D.R., former CONCACAF President Jeffrey R. Hernandez, and former FIFA Vice President Jack W.W., were found guilty on multiple counts and sentenced to prison terms ranging from 2 to 6 years, alongside hefty fines exceeding $30 million. 2 other officials, including the now former President Sepp Blatter, evaded U.S. prosecution by virtue of Swiss jurisdiction, but faced parallel investigations that culminated in a 6-year ban from all football-related activities, imposed by FIFA's own ethics committee. The verdicts sent shockwaves through the sport, prompting sponsors such as Coca-Cola, Adidas, and Visa to demand reforms, while fans worldwide flooded social media with calls for a complete overhaul. In the aftermath, FIFA's governance structure underwent a forced transformation. An extraordinary Congress in February 2016 elected Gianni Infantino as the new president, promising transparency, term limits, and a stricter ethics code. The organization introduced a revamped bidding process for World Cup hosts, requiring independent audits and the publication of all financial disclosures. Nevertheless, critics argue that the reforms amount to cosmetic changes, noting that many of the same power brokers remain in influential positions behind the scenes. Moreover, the scandal's ripple effects extended beyond football. Other sports federations, such as the International Boxing Association and the International Athletics Federation, initiated their own internal investigations, revealing that the culture of corruption was not confined to the world's most popular sport. The legacy of the 2015 FIFA Corruption Scandal continues to shape the modern landscape of global football. It has sparked a broader conversation about the ethics of mega-event hosting, the role of corporate sponsorship, and the need for independent oversight in all sport governing bodies. While the convictions have removed several key figures from power, the deeper issue remains: how to ensure that the love of the game is not eclipsed by the lure of profit and power. As new generations of fans demand accountability, the sport stands at a crossroads, poised either to embrace genuine reform or to repeat the mistakes of the past. Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.